Hello and welcome back to the Hoarder's Crafting Podcast. My name is Sasha and today is a regular podcast episode of my little crafting. I have 2 finished objects, 2 whips, a decent amount of acquisition, but we'll get into that. As this is my first episode in March, I'm also going to go over my February stash stats. I know it's the 13th today, Friday the 13th of March, but I wasn't here last week, so I will kind of get into this in a bit of an odd order, because I need to go over stash stats, but I want to talk about February acquisition first, because it relates to one of my whips. So in February, I brought into my stash 200 grams of the Hobie rainbow cotton, 2 balls of the white and 2 of the black. This is because I do not think I have enough yarn, enough of what I had to finish that project, so I found this on Vinted for not a lot of money. I figured the 100 grams of the white would be enough to give me enough to finish this project, but the same seller also had 2 balls of the black, and I figured it'd be better safe than sorry, so I just picked up both. She was selling them they were selling them as like the 2 balls of the white as one lot and the 2 balls of black in another lot, but it worked out cheaper than trying to place an order from Hobie just for like 2 balls of cotton or 4 balls of cotton. It was second hand. The original yarn is also second hand, so yeah. That was the only other thing in February that I brought into stash. And then in February, I also finished. Let me just double check. Yep, I finished my Aurora socks. So these are a cable and faux cable socks. With the cabling going down onto the heel flap. And these were knit using Blue Fern Yarns Yak sock in the colourway Emerald and Sea Urchin. So these were one of my 12 cast-ons for 2026, and they are finished. I can't remember exactly when I finished them. I know that I finished them during February. It was the last week of February. I think I finished them right before my sister arrived. So yeah, these are done. I can't remember how much I had left. As I said, it's been 2 weeks since my last regular podcast episode. And technically it's been 2.5 weeks since I recorded that episode. So yeah, but finished pair of socks that I have been holding off wearing during the cold weather, and now I can wear just in time for the spring and the warm weather. So that's one finished object. And now I'm going to go over the February stats, just so I can keep this all separate. So in February, I finished 7 projects. So I finished my vest number 2 spring edition in the pink, which happens to be what I'm wearing today. So I finished this. I finished a cushion cover, an elbow patch, a hat, the 2 sets of squares for my Super Effective Fibres Yarn Club blankets, and the socks. So in those 7 projects, I used 850 grams of yarn. So altogether, used, finished, out of stash, is 850 grams. And then I brought into stash 1 ball of the grey mode Rowan yarn to finish this project, the 100 grams for my Super Effective Fibres Yarn Club, and the 200 grams of the rainbow cotton, for 350 grams brought into stash. Obviously 2 of those are already been used, so there was barely any of this grey left. I think there was about 7 grams. The Super Effective Fibres has already been worked into its squares, linked here if you wish to see that video, as that's a separate series on my channel. And I'm already in the process of using the cotton. So this arrived shortly before I left on holiday, so it took a while, and due to the stage I was at, yeah, so I have started using this, but when I get into whips I should talk about that. It's one of the projects I'm hoping to finish in March. So February had a stash total of negative 500 grams. So at the end of February I had 500 grams less yarn than I started the month with January's negative of 1,300 grams, just over. That meant I at the end of February I was negative 1,812 grams of yarn from stash. March won't be quite so good. So as some of you might know, I turned 30 at the beginning of March. As such, me and my partner went away. We went to Amsterdam. There is a wonderful, amazing shop there called Stephen and Penelope. So that had yarn in. My yarn club was yarn in, although it's only 100 grams. So although I am still negative so far this year, I'm also going to Wonderwall next month, at the end of next month, so I kind of need to finish some more stuff if I want to keep the stash negative going. As I said, I think I said at the beginning of this year, my goal is not to be stashing down, but it is to be sort of stash neutral, maybe on the side of stash negative, specifically using up stuff that's like the heavier weights, like the bulky weights that I'm not really using for anything, stuff like that. So yep, end of February I am negative, and the year total at the end of February is also negative, which is a good thing. Now I shall move on to my two works in progress and the finished object, the other finished object I've got. So the other finished object I finished last night. Wednesday night. I finished this Wednesday night. And it is my summery Tolster tee. This is a pattern by Rebecca Clow. It's very, very size inclusive, very easy to modify, very basic, but very blank canvas sort of pattern. This I made specifically for this summer. It is hopefully long enough. I did knit this an extra inch compared to the last one I made, but we shall see. I haven't actually blocked this yet, so I haven't tried it on properly. From experience, this yarn does grow a little bit, so I do have some of this yarn left. If I need to add length to it, that's not an issue. So the yarn I used for this is Creative Anarchy in the Borges base, which is an 80/20 superwash merino silk high twist blend. And I used the colours Hot Spring for the black, which is on the arm and neck ribbing, as well as the short rows on the back. And the pink is, was he slow? I had originally planned on doing the black for the ribbing on the bottom as well. However, I only had 25 grams of the black left, and I used it for the short rows because I wasn't sure if I would have enough pink to do the length of the body I needed if I did the short rows. Turns out I didn't need to worry because I've still got quite a bit of it left. But I only had 4 grams of the Hot Springs colourway left after I did the 2 ribbings on the arms. So in the end I just did the bottom in the pink. I don't think it subtracts from it. I don't think anybody is going to be able to tell that I just didn't have enough black. From looking at it from a distance, it still looks very intentional. Also, if I wear this like tucked into like high-waisted pants or a skirt or something like French tuck, no one's gonna know. So I knit this on 3.5mm for the main body and then 3mm for the rib. I don't know if that's what the pattern suggests, but that's what I did. And for the raglan, I did yarn over increases, which I probably should have alternated yarn overs and make ones when I got to the point that I had to do increases on every round because it looks a little bit sloppy. But to be honest, if anybody's looking that close to my underarm, they are entirely too close. Hopefully it will neaten out once I block it and stuff, so this is the finished object. And it's, given its fingering weight yarn, it's not a tight gauge, it's definitely loose. Like, not so loose you can see through it, but loose enough that, yeah. And I used just under 200 grams of yarn. So far in March, I have brought in over 1,000 grams of yarn and used under 200. So yeah, there is a couple of projects I want to finish in March, time and universe permitting, but that is the first finished object for March. And now I shall get into my 2 works in progress. Anybody who knows, who's probably seen this and realised what project this is one of my 12 cast-ons. I think this is day 5, and it is my crocheted cushion cover. There is 2 sections here. So this is going to be a cushion cover. It started out as granny stitch, and then I got to the dark blue, so I was going to do a full repeat of the 6 colours. I got to the blue. I've been weighing it. After I finished the first repeat, I was starting to get a little bit nervous. So I weighed how much it took to do the 2 rows of the dark blue on both squares and discovered that I would not have enough of the next colour. Or it was cutting it close. If I added a little bit of leeway, I wouldn't have enough. So I put it down, thought about it, spoke to my partner about it to get his opinion, and decided I could either switch to doing just 1 round of each colour for the last 3, see how big it is, and then maybe do a couple of rounds of single crochet, just if I needed a little bit of length, a little bit more all round. But decided I didn't like the idea of doing that, given I'd started out doing 2 rows of each, and suddenly changing to 1 round of each halfway through the colour repeat would look weird. So I have decided, or we decided together, to get the white. I did 2 rounds of white as a border to the granny stitch, continuing the granny stitch, and now I am going to do... There's 2 rounds of single crochet on this so far. From here I'm now going to be doing spiked stitches. So I will be probably reattaching the white, doing a round of spiked stitches, doing 2 rows single crochet of the coloured ones, which here is the bowl of colours and you can see the mess that's going on here. So yeah, I'm hoping I can get this finished in March. If I do get this finished and I don't have to touch the black, that'll be almost 400 grams of yarn used. If I do use the black, it's almost 500, but it depends. I think I can get away with just the whites. It depends how many more rounds I need to do. This still needs another, I think, 3 inches. So all the way around 3 inches. So 6 inches altogether, but it's worked in rounds, so it's technically 3 inches. Yeah. So this has become my main project for the time being. I will work on this either until it's finished or until it bores me to death, and then I'll pick something else. Knowing me, I'll probably work on a couple of other projects as well. Given my March Super Effective Fibres yarn has come in, this will take a temporary backseat while I work on the squares for that and record that video. But we shall see. I'm still enjoying this. I was getting slightly sick of the granny stitch. That could have been because I had been working on my granny stitch cardigan scrap yarn project, and that was also granny stitch, so, but I'm enjoying it and it'll look great, it'll look fun. I'm really sorry, my legs. Yeah, right. So that's whip number 1. Whip number 2 is the project I took on holiday to Amsterdam with me. And it should come as absolutely no surprise what it is. These are March's socks. One of my goals for this year was to knit 12 pairs of socks. I didn't need to buy any yarn to make socks, but I have. But this is the yarn out of my stash, and this is the progress. So after finishing these, I actually didn't have any easy socks on the go. Easy cables, yeah. The only other pair of socks I've currently got on the go is requiring a bit of brain thought that I haven't, a lot of thought and planning, which I haven't had the energy to do. I'm sure once I start it, it'll be fine, but I wasn't going to do that right before going on holiday. So I cast on a simple pair of vanilla socks. I did about 4 rounds to establish the rib properly before I went on holiday, and then I got from, so it was probably about there, and then I got about 5 rounds into the vanilla part of this sock, and that's from just doing a couple of rounds at night before I went to sleep. But since getting back, I have finished the leg, I've done the heel flap, I've picked up and done 2 decrease rounds on the gusset. So these should be finished in March. That's I don't have any concerns about these being finished. Unless something happens and I like break my wrist, these should be finished in March. And now you're probably all there going, yes, Sasha, please tell us about the yarn. That is amazing yarn. Please tell us about the yarn. This is a colourway by Attic Spin Dye, and it is the colourway Neon Darkness. So it's a black yarn with these speckles of neon, purple, pink, orange, yellow, and a bit of green. And I love these. These are so happy. These are just so happy. I know some people are there going, Sasha, it's black yarn. How is it happy? Look at it. Look. How can you not look? How can you not look at this yarn and not smile? It's so pretty. I love it. Yeah. It's probably how I've managed to do the entire leg in 2 days. Well, finish the leg in 2 days. So I didn't pick these up for a few days once I got back. I worked on I basically finished the entirety of the leg on Monday. Because I was at knit group, and then I went to the gym and I worked on them, and then I did the heel flap while editing my very, very long Amsterdam vlog. That's nearly 2 hours long. If you've watched that, well done for getting through it. If not, don't worry about it. So I will now work on these. Yeah, like once again, it's just simple in the round knitting. I can do this on the go, take this with me. It's quite simple to do. So these should be finished in March unless something major happens. They are basic vanilla socks, 64 stitches, 20 rounds 2x2 rib on a 2.5 9-inch circular. And it's in a bag I made myself, so. And project-wise, that's everything. I do have my birthday yarn to talk about, which is in this bag here. If you have watched the Amsterdam vlog and listened to me talk about all of this in detail in that video, I'm not really going to say anything new, so feel free to drop out here. If you do want to hear me talk about this again, it's fine. If you haven't heard me talk about this, here we are. So I won't go too much into detail about the visit to the shop. I do that in that video, but I know not everyone's going to watch that, so I will talk about what I got. And I will start with the birthday present from my other half. So this was the gift he got me from the shop. It was a sweater quantity of Westwool Tandem in these two colours. So this is Westwool Tandem, which is 100% South American merino wool in the colourways Pine, that's blowing out. That's more colour accurate. And Pearl, which is also blowing out. No, never mind. But yeah, like here in the shadow, that is more colour accurate. Up here, my camera wants to blow it out. But this is a dark, rich, piney green colour, as you'd expect from the colourway Pine. And this is Pearl, which it's beige. I'd call Pearl more of a grey. This is more of a beige. And I've got 2 balls of this, 7 skeins. I've got 2 skeins and 7 skeins. This is a DK weight wool, and I'm going to be making the Kerr sweater by Rebecca Clow. I've owned this pattern for quite a while. I bought it when it first came out. I had originally applied to test knit it. Didn't get it, didn't bother me. But I bought it after, and I'm finally getting around to making it. So that's what this will be for. I plan on casting this on relatively soon. I mean, that was 900 grams of yarn that came into my stash, so that's the majority of March's grams in, is these 2 colours. So and it's a DK weight. It should work up fairly quick. It's colour work. Once it gets to the colour work, it's probably going to knit itself. I do have enough to lengthen the body and the sleeves if I need to. Push comes to shove and I don't have enough of this, I'm going to have some of this left. So that was the main thing that was purchased, sweater quantity of this. And then I have technically 4 other colourways to show you, but one of them is a sock set. It wasn't originally, it wasn't set up as a sock set, it's just my partner made it a sock set. And that is these 2 colours. You can tell this is for the other half because it's his colours, not mine. And this is Dark Omen yarn. This colourway, the dark blues, is Scuba Dive. It's 3 to 4 tones of blue, very dark, rich and moody. And then because he's well trained and knows one skein is pushing it, or cutting it a bit close I should say. He also picked up a 20-gram mini for contrasting heel, toe, cuff, whatever he wants. And this is the colourway Rejuvenate. This is just a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. And these will be socks for him at some point this year. I don't know when I'm going to get around to these, but yeah. And this was another birthday present, but it was a birthday present in the sense that the person gave me some money and said, buy yourself a gift. And I got this. So this is Punk Rock Unicorn in the sole base. On the fingering weight sole base, which is an 85-15 virgin merino nylon. I do not believe this is superwash. No, it is superwash, yep. Oh, it says it in the really fine print right there. And the colourway for this, and apologies to any native Dutch speakers, Jurkerswagen. Jurkerswagen? It'll be here. It'll be here because it's kind of cut off on here. But it's this beautiful, rich greens, browns, pinks, and specks of bright purple as well. Very me, very spring. I adore it. I especially adore this, like the really, really dark green bits. I do like the light green as well, but it's that rich green that I just... I know this is a sock wool, and I originally bought it to make socks. I might actually make something else using this, because I love the colours so much. I love the feel of it, and I'm not quite sure how a sock yarn with only 15% nylon is going to hold up, given I've already worn through a couple of pairs of socks that have 25% nylon, so we shall see. This will sit in my stash for a little bit until inspiration hits. And then the last yarn item I bought, I was a tit and I decided on what pattern I wanted to make and then didn't check what I actually needed to make that pattern. I thought I needed 1 ball of this. It turns out I needed 2 balls of this. This is a Schuppel Zauberball Crazy. And this is the colourway Italian Sunset. So I bought this originally to make the honeycomb scarflet, the mini scarf. I thought I needed 1 ball of this to hold double, and then 1 ball of something else. No, or maybe 2 balls. No, it turns out I needed 2 of this because this is thin enough that I needed to hold 3 strands of it together. I don't have enough yardage in the one. So, yeah, that's what I get for not checking the pattern and making assumptions beforehand. So we shall see. I don't know what's going to happen with this. Might make socks. It is a sock yarn. It is a 75-25, so we shall see. If you have any ideas, please let me know. But I'll find something. Once again, it'll sit in stash for a little bit until inspiration strikes. I also bought the bag that says "Keep on Knitting Kitten," which is adorable. It's cute. It's funny. I like it. And then the other thing I bought, which was definitely the impulse purchase, was these buttons, because these buttons are adorable. Look at the chicken! So these are handmade, fully washable buttons by Incomparable Buttons, which gives employment to women in South Africa. And I adore these. I will eventually make a cardigan, which these will go onto. Probably one that's either always buttoned or never buttoned, so I don't put any wear and tear on these buttons. But I think these are adorable. I love them. Yeah. And that is an ambulance. Or was it a police car? It might have been a police car. Sorry, I live on a main road, so the main route to and from the hospital is apparently along that road, which is not the route I would take when I drive to the hospital, but yeah, whatever. So, yeah, that's my little yarn haul. As I said, I do go into a lot more detail about the yarns and stuff in the other video, but I know not everyone's going to watch that. Everyone's going to look at the fact that it's nearly 2 hours long and go, no thank you. I mostly made it for fun and as a reminder to myself in maybe 40, 50 years time that I was once young and able to travel. So that is my little birthday yarn haul from Stephen and Penelope. That equates to 1,220 grams of yarn into stash, which, to be fair, 900 grams of that is for a DK weight jumper, which I will probably end up needing at least 800 grams to make that jumper, due to yarn quantities and how much I needed for the green and the thing. I obviously had to buy full skeins, so at least 800, probably closer to 850 grams of yarn is going to go in that one jumper, which will happen at some point this year. My goal is to have it finished, hopefully to wear it for next winter. At the very, very, very latest, I want it to finish before my 31st birthday. And then there's at least one pair, if not 2 pairs of socks in there and something else, which I'll get to it when I get to it. I might see if I can make those socks up for my other half for his birthday in July. Even though making hand knit socks for a guy whose birthday is in July who doesn't wear hand knit socks except in winter, we shall see. I shall get to it all at some point. Otherwise, that's everything. That's basically everything. I will go into a little bit of life stuff. As I said, I've been away. I've been to Amsterdam. I had my sister visiting the week before. We didn't really get up to much. I had to go to the dentist this morning because I have cracked one of my fillings. So I basically had to pop there this morning. They basically looked at it and went, yeah, that's cracked. We're going to have to fully remove it and replace it. I don't know what's up with me specifically, but I've got 3 fillings. 3. All of them are on back molars. One there, one there, and one there. And I've had no issues with my teeth since having those 3 fillings. However, I've had multiple fillings since because I have lost one, then I lost that one, and now I've cracked that one. So, yeah, I do look after my teeth quite well. Those fillings have been there for like 7-8 years now, and they came from a time when I wasn't really looking after my teeth. Little rant. When I was, shortly after I moved up to Brum, I was very poor. I was struggling to make ends meet, and then I had to have my one wisdom tooth. I managed to crack that on a cherry pit, got a nasty infection, had to have that removed. And at the same time, I was like, well, since I've got to pay so much anyway, NHS dentist has, I'm lucky enough to have an NHS dentist. Like, you pay specific, depending on the thing. Because I had to have a tooth out, I had to pay the higher amount anyway. So they said, since you're doing that, we might as well do the fillings at the same time so you don't pay any extra. I was like, okay, cool, okay. I've been looking after my teeth since then because, ow. I don't know how people afford to do that privately, because that was nearly 400 quid 7-8 years ago on the NHS. You know, NHS pricing, which is, yeah. I can't imagine how much that would cost if I'd had a private dentist, but since then I have had multiple fillings to replace or fix others. So, slight rant. I now get to go and pay to have the dentist stab me, drill out one of my teeth and repair a filling that's... Apparently I'm just bad with fillings. I'm harsh on them or something. So, yeah. I've only ever actually had 2 teeth removed. Both of them were my top wisdom teeth at different points in time. Both of them because I've somehow managed to crack them. I know one was on a cherry pit. I can't remember if that was the first or the second. And another one I cracked, got an infection in, and, well, both of them cracked and got an infection in, which is really fun. The one time, for the second one, I popped in on an emergency appointment because I was in pain. I had toothache, and I don't like toothache. And he basically went, well, my next appointment's cancelled, so I'll just take it out now for you. Okay, that's great. Can I have 5 minutes? No, it's okay, we'll do it now. I then proceeded to go to work after having my wisdom teeth out and work in a train station for the next 10 hours. And everybody was there going, are you okay? I was literally there like, I'm fine. Just don't ask me to drink anything. To be honest, I was fine. The first wisdom tooth, I was an idiot after having that out. So I had it out, I went home, I promptly fell asleep. It had been an early appointment, and this was when I was working nights at the time. So I went, had it out, went back to sleep. I then proceeded to wake up, cook myself a full English, not taking into account I just had the tooth out, so I was there eating a full English, complete with fried bread and everything, and was there going, what's on my god? Oh shit. So, random dentist stuff aside, but yeah, I've at least caught that cracked filling before I've ended up with food getting down in there and causing an infection, which I'd had on the one filling this side, which had caused me to lose more of the tooth, like I had to drill more of it out. Thankfully, it had been caught early enough that they could save the tooth. So I know some people are here now cringing, going, please stop talking about the dentist. There's nothing to be afraid of. Like, I don't particularly like the dentist because every time I go to the dentist, my wallet hurts. But it's fine. Like, trust me, we've all been there. We have all been afraid at some point. Like, I shall hold out my hand to you. You can hold it and squeeze it. Don't be afraid. It's fine. Like, it's just part of life. And trust me, you want to keep your teeth. My mum has 3 teeth left. 3. In her entire mouth. And she hates it. Trust me, you want to keep your teeth, make that appointment with the dentist, squeeze my hand, it'll all be fine. And with that, I shall leave it here. My life stuff is finished now that I'm done talking about the dentist. And I hope to see you next week. Bye guys.